Hey everyone, I'm so excited to show you how easy it is to use your cover stitch to add a fun finished detail to the edges and the hems of your t-shirts. Today we're making a custom Father's Day t-shirt with a sporty top stitching using the double cover stitch of the Brother 3550 machine. This is great because it adds a looper on the top and the bottom. Alright, so I have now set my fabric on the edge of my neckline under the cover stitch foot, and I'm using the serger tails from my original stitching to pull from the back to get started. You can also see how I have the seam allowance pointed back down towards the main t-shirt and not up towards the neckline. This is adding a fun top stitching detail along the neckline, but we're also going to use this same process along the sleeves and the bottom to hem this shirt. I just want to point out that I'm sewing this neckline on the open, which means I started on a raw edge and I'm going to finish on a raw edge. So this adds just a nice, easy way to begin your top stitching. And when you get to the edge, you can simply just stitch off, which provides a chain that you can go ahead and clip. And when you started, you just started on that raw edge as well. When we hem the bottom, I'll show you how to start and finish in a round. Now that you have this finished neckline, you can go ahead and sew the shoulder seams and see just a beautiful neckline and a great top stitching look that you have here on your shirt. Alright, so let's talk about hemming in a round using your cover stitch. So you kind of have to squish your fabric underneath those needle threads because they're still connected to the looper. So it provides a little bit of wiggle. Now you won't have anything to pull or push using the back, but you have your fabric from the back. So when you start, you can use the fabric in the back to kind of pull along and get you started. The clear foot that I'm using on this cover stitch provides a window for me to see my fabric and see where I'm stitching from the top. I also like to use my fingers to feel along and make sure I'm stitching right on the edge of that folded under seam. This is wonderful because you don't have to pre-finish the raw edge of your t-shirt or whatever fabric you're using, as the looper on the bottom will finish that fabric and the looper on the top will just provide that sporty little detail that we are loving and giving a great look to this t-shirt. I've used black to kind of add a coordinating look, but if you had a gray or any other color, you could also use that, even a brighter color, whatever you're looking for as you added this t-shirt. So you can see I'm just sewing around. When you get to the side seam, you're going to need to provide a little bit of pull from the back and push from the front to get over that bump. But the rest of the time, you're just manipulating the fabric around in the circle to sew around the bottom of this t-shirt. Now, when we get to the other end where we started stitching, that's where we're going to be a little bit creative with finishing this in the round. So the neckline and the sleeves, we simply hemmed while they were still a flat piece of fabric, which means we could start on a raw edge and finish on a raw edge. Now this time we are starting and stopping in the same place on the t-shirt. So when we get around to that other side, I'm going to show you how easy it is to really finish these stitches in the same place where you started. You can see that I've got kind of a bump of threads and fabric here. So the first thing we have to do is go ahead and trim that off on the top and the bottom. So take your little scissors and go ahead and clip those threads to release any puckering in the fabric, and then cut off on the back. There's sort of this wad of loopers, and we're going to trim that too. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is stitch over 1 to 2 inches of overlapping threads. This provides sort of that knotting or back stitching since we can't back stitch on the cover stitch. Now I also like to tie off my threads in the back of the shirt, and so in order to do that, I go ahead and chain 1 stitch with the hand crank. Then I go ahead and use a pin to pull out the needle threads, and in order to pull those, you're going to have to raise the presser foot. So pull those out several inches. You can see I have those threads on the pin, and then with the presser foot raised, you're going to pull the fabric out of the way so it's not under the needles, and then chain off. From there, you're going to clip the threads, and then I like to use a pin on the back side of the fabric to pull through all my threads to the back side. And then from there, Once you have your threads pulled to the back side, and sometimes it's easier than others to do this depending on how your chain off went and depending on the color of thread that you're using. But once you have them to the back side, then you can just go ahead and tie off. I like to use a square knot to do this, and I kind of grab the 2 threads that are on one side and the 2 threads that are on the other, and then go ahead and square knot to tie off. From there, you're just going to trim all your loose threads and check the front to make sure there's nothing on that side. But now you have a beautiful hem that started and stopped in the same location, and you can just go ahead and enjoy your beautiful t-shirt.